This morning, we're taking a look at Louisville, Kentucky to see how national issues are playing out on the local level. It's our continuing series, American Voices. The city's Democratic Mayor Greg Fischer has been called the most innovative mayor in the country. Louisville has added more than 63,000 jobs since he took office in 2011. Mayor Fischer is also working to increase the number of college graduates in the city and creating new job training programs. He joins us at the table. Good morning, Mayor.
Good to be with you.
Good to have you here. Let's talk about what happened in Charlottesville over the weekend, because I know you wrote about it and you said this is not the country we aspire to be.
No, that's right. Louisville is the home of Muhammad Ali, and it was about a year ago when we laid him to rest, and you saw the whole world come together to celebrate this great man and values of compassion, confidence, spirituality. That's the United States of America. It's not what we saw in Charlottesville over the weekend. So we condemn that type of activity. This is an easy one for all leaders to get up and say, this is not us. The strength of America is our human values. That's what we should be celebrating every day. Diversity is what makes us strong.
This is happening in a, sorry.
Oh, no, you go.
It's happening in a number of spots. I mean, you moved a Confederate monument last year. Right. There, a statue of a Confederate soldier in Louisville was vandalized last night. Do you plan to move more monuments and more statues?
There was a big monument, about 75 feet tall, that we had a peaceful discussion about in our city. We moved it to another location. We didn't destroy it. It is an important part of history, but it needs to be in the proper context. There's another one of a man on a horse, not in a Confederate uniform. What I called for yesterday was to identify any piece of public art that had any potential connotation of slavery or racism to it, so we could discuss each and every one of them and put them in their proper context.
People say that mayors are where the rubber meets the ground.
Yeah.
What kinds of issues do you think are looming in the future for America's cities?
Well, the biggest issue in the cities, in the countryside, and all of America is social mobility, jobs, what's happening to our middle class right now. It's being hollowed out. That's one of the reasons why you see some of this hatred that's coming out on the streets. People don't know fear. They don't feel connected. They don't feel hope. They don't know where they fit in a rapidly changing global economy, so they don't know what to do. We need major system changes that involve everybody so they can have a hopeful path to the future.
That's a rise of populism.
Well, we need to fight against that. After Brexit, after what happened here in our country. So what we need to do is say, how can everybody participate meaningfully in a job that has a future to it where you can have dignity of work and support your family?
One of the things you're doing is bringing manufacturing to Louisville. How are you doing that?
We're a great manufacturing hub, about 100,000 jobs. Simple. All of our jobs we want to focus on globalization and innovation. That's where the action is. So whether it's manufacturing, whether it's urbanism, whether it's wellness and aging care, you have those two elements, you've got good jobs.
Let's talk about the opioid crisis, because that's something mayors, I think, are confronting really on the front lines. Is the Trump administration doing enough?
Well, what's important is we've got to realize how fast this is hitting our country. Over the last 2 or 3 years, the spread of opioids is a real epidemic. In rural areas and urban areas, it's something that we should all be able to come together for. In our health care plans, it needs to be covered. Mental illness stigma needs to go away. So to make this a national emergency is the right thing to do, because it's eating up some of our rural areas and our city as well.
You've used the word interesting, compassionate. How do you make Louisville a more compassionate city? How do you define compassion in terms of a city?
Well, 3 big values for Louisville: lifelong learning, health, and compassion. And compassion means respect for each and every one of our citizens so that their human potential is flourishing, thriving, shining like the sun, is what Thomas Merton said. So the Dalai Lama is a strategic partner of our city because of our efforts in compassion.
When you look across America in terms of state legislators, in terms of mayors, there are more Republicans than Democrats. What does the Democratic Party have to do to regain its political momentum?
Well, you got to take care of business. I mean, that's what mayors do every day. Cities are the home of 85% of our population, over 90% of our GDP. We don't see blue, we don't see red, we see opportunity.
But how do you speak to income inequality? How do you speak to the kind of issues that are causing people to be fearful and therefore turn to a range of kinds of things that are not in their own best interest?
Well, you take it directly on in the workplace to ask ourselves, what's happening to these jobs? And what can we do as leaders to make sure that there are jobs that have good, solid middle-class wages to them? The way we're doing it right now, where just a few people are really winning and a lot of people are losing, is not the solution.
It's interesting you say you don't see red, you don't see blue. I mean, you're a Democratic mayor in a state, a Republican governor, Republican state house, 2 very famous Republican senators. How do you maintain that job with that party for that long and be that successful in your state?
Well, America works best when we work together, right? And so being a mayor is all about getting things done. So if you get all hung up in ideology, like we see in the healthcare debate, for instance, people at the local level are not interested in that. When you take healthcare, we need more healthcare. We're a rich country. 18% of our GDP is spent on healthcare. Germany spends 10%. The United Kingdom spends 8%. We need to figure out the cost issue so that more people have more coverage. That's what people are interested in. They're not interested in political ideology. That's a waste of time on the main streets of our cities.
It's getting worse now, not better, the costs.
Well, but that's right. But that's the point, is focus in on that. I'm a business guy, entrepreneur. To be a good mayor, you have to have the head of a chief executive officer, but the heart of a social worker. It comes together with health care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Nice to have you here.